Hello, and thank you to anybody who watched my last video. It means a lot to me. But before I say anything else, I really just want to put it out there that anything I say is my perspective of my story. And I'm not trying to offend anybody in my family or any of my friends with anything that I say, but in order to tell this correctly, I have to tell the truth. And to me, the truth, like I said, again, it's my story, it's my perspective. So please understand that I'm not trying to hurt anyone with anything that I say. And if anything, we can use all of this as a learning experience so we can all learn and grow together. So, with that being said, here is the next video. You can hear the neighbor dog barking. Anyway, thanks for coming back. Welcome to my world, population me, doing things. Oh, that was stupid. I'm sorry. I've been trying to figure out what I want to talk about this time because, like I said, I'm nervous about offending people, but I know I have to do it. And I want to talk about my dad this time because that was such a huge portion of my life. And it really affected me in a lot of different ways. Mainly negative ones, honestly. For a huge portion of my life, I went through a lot of misery in a lot of different ways, both all ways possible, actually. Emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, any way you can think about it. I put myself through hell. And I want to make this known that this is such a detailed subject that I'm not going to fit it all into one video because I've done this video a couple times now and I've seen how long it is, and so understand what I don't say in this video I'll say in another one. And there's things I want to go more in depth with, but I just can't right now until I figure out how to talk about it. Of course, one of the first questions I asked when they had told me about my father, I had asked, well, I thought my dad died before I was born, and they said, no, that was actually your grandpa. They weren't sure if my dad was still alive, but if he was, they told me what his name was, and if he was still around, he was probably living back in Derry, Northern Ireland, where I was born, or Londonderry for you politically correct. Now you have to understand, my world was literally just completely flipped upside down. And now I'm finding out that there was somebody who was really horrible in my life. They told me he was a drug addict, he was abusive, he was an alcoholic, and that I should be thankful he wasn't around. Now, step inside a 13-year-old's mind who literally just a few minutes ago was living such an innocent life, and now I have to find out that my family has been hiding this like dirty secret from me, and I have to figure out now how to adapt. And it was really difficult. It was hard to process that as a 13-year-old girl going through all these body changes and going through all these life changes in general. But from that moment on, the next 3 to 5 years of my life were really, really hard. I put myself through absolute hell the next portion of my life, both mentally and physically and also emotionally. And I don't say that lightly. There are people that kind of know my story but don't really know the details. And that's something I want to talk about more in detail at another time. But to kind of just prove a point, there are scars all over my body from the mess that I put myself in. I have over 200 scars on my leg from one specific night. I have emotional scars that I am still trying to figure out and work through, and mental scars and tendencies and obstacles that I still to this day am trying to overcome. But I don't know. I grew so much anger and resentment and pain towards this man that I didn't know because he didn't want anything to do with me. He wasn't around. What did I do when I wasn't even born yet to push someone away? My grandmother and my mom had such a strong opinion of him that everything they told me really did affect how I viewed the world and how I viewed him. My two uncles were the only ones who were kind of, down the middle about it. They agreed that my mom and dad just did not mesh well together, but he wasn't that bad of a guy. They would tell me the nice things about him, like he liked to go dancing and he loved to sing, and he liked, kind of keeping up with the latest fashions and stuff like that, that he was a really hard worker. He did a lot of different jobs. And that him and my mom were not right together. That was literally about what they told me. But I viewed my mom and my grandmother, I viewed their opinions so much higher. That was such a hard time of my life. I have notebooks filled with letters to a man I didn't know, blaming him for all of my anger, blaming him for everything that my family was going through, all the pain my mom felt, the pain that I felt, everything. And I'll never show him those letters. I'll never show anybody those letters because of how dark they are. Now, throughout that whole time, I was still looking for him because I just wanted to know what he looked like. And a huge thing for me was wanting to know what his voice sounded like. I don't know why, but I needed to put a voice to the mental picture I had in my head. And I wanted to know if that picture was what he actually looked like. So I checked every platform I could. I checked social media. I checked birth and death records, phone book records, anything I could, I tried. And I found a couple possibilities, and they just ended up being random people that got random messages from me. But nothing ever came from it. And that in itself caused a lot of problems. There's a lot of nights I would sit with my best friend and just cry because I wanted to know where I came from and I wanted to know what I did wrong. But it finally got to a point where I put myself through so much hell and I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take everything that my family was saying anymore. And I made the conscious decision. I told both my mom and my grandmother, like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I want to hear it from him. Because there could be a whole nother side to this story that might help make more sense. So that was it. I stopped listening to what my grandmother and my mom had to say. Not that I disregarded it, but I needed to find out for myself. Come to find out, I found my mom's old address book and found his name in there and found out I was actually spelling his last name wrong the entire time. By one letter, too. It was just a letter that was switched, and put the right name into Facebook, and up pops this picture of this man. Now, again, I'd never seen a picture of him before, but it was weird how there was just something in me that just kind of felt it was him. And now that I found him, I have my family coming to me and giving me advice because everybody was really worried about what would happen. It's kind of funny to me how certain members of my family have such strong opinions about certain other members of my family, considering the situations that they're in themselves. And that's all I'll say about that, because when I found him and I asked my mom and I asked my uncle both if it was him, they were so hesitant. It was like everything, all the last words they said to each other kind of just came flooding back. But I knew I had to take that chance and find out for myself. So I ended up sending him a message saying, asking if he would have known my mom from 90 to 92. And he didn't say anything back. So the next day I was really anxious and sent up another message saying, look, I know this is weird, but my father's name is such and such and we've never met. I was born in Derry in 92, and I'm literally just looking to know if you are him or if you know him. A yes or no answer is all I want. October 25th or 26th of 2012, I finally get a message back saying, hi, Michelle, yes, I'm your father. I can't believe you found me. And then a string of other messages from him, just so excited that I had finally found him. And I can't describe the feeling of knowing your world got flipped upside down and all of the pain that you went through, realizing that there's this piece missing from you, and you tried to fill it with so many other things, addictions, people, food, everything, and nothing ever sit properly. And then you find that missing piece and it fits right. And the next thing you have to go through is wondering if that piece is going to stay or if it's going to fall out. And I'm so happy to say that my dad and I have a really good relationship, and I have 5 other siblings 4,000 miles away, and another place I get to call home again and go back to. And it's really cool, but I wouldn't have gotten to that place in my life if I hadn't understood the idea of forgiveness and understanding. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of us need to learn. Life is way too short to have such strong resentments towards other people, because my family side of the story doesn't make full sense, but my dad's side of the story also doesn't really make that much sense. I had to come to the understanding that I am never going to get the 100% truth ever in my life. No matter how much my dad says he's telling me the truth, no matter how much my family over here says they're telling me the truth, I wasn't there those couple years that they were together. I don't know who my dad used to be. I don't know who my mom used to be. Times were different. Things were different. And I had to finally get to that point after all of the pain and hell that I put myself through. I had to get to that point of realizing that I was purposely making my life so much worse than it had to be if I had just stopped and understood that people make mistakes, that maybe things could get better. And now, trust me, it's not like everything just went away, because there was a lot of big events that happened after I found him that brought back all those old tendencies and addictions and habits. And I, to this day, still struggle with a lot of things. But I had to go through all those things to understand forgiveness and letting go. And it was one of the best feelings. And finally getting to go over there and meet them all was really cool. But like I said, there's more that I want to talk about. And there's things about my dad that I need to address as well. Like finding out I have a sister. I just found out about her a couple years ago. And actually, not even that long ago. And nobody knew she existed. So that in itself is a whole other thing. So I really thoroughly appreciate anybody taking the time to watch this. I know it's long, but there's more I will talk about. And I just don't want to make either side of my family feel like the culprit, because there's a whole mess of things that still need to be addressed. Thank you so much for sitting through this 12-minute video with me. I can't describe how much this project means to me. Finally being able to talk about it and letting it all go. And I really feel like there are people out there that can benefit from this. So if you did watch this video, it's awkward for me to ask, but if you could share it, that would be super cool. And I appreciate all of your kind words so much. So until next time.